So welcome everyone. I was thinking that it's been about a year since we started doing these classes virtually. And about a year ago, in the very beginning, I read just a short paragraph from a book I had read by Haruki Murakami, Kafka on the Shore. And I thought it was appropriate then, and I still think it's appropriate, maybe even more appropriate. So I'd just like to open with this short paragraph from that lovely book of his. And once the storm is over, you won't remember how you made it through, how you managed to survive. You won't even be sure whether the storm is really over. But one thing is certain, when you come out of the storm, you won't be the same person who walked in. But that's what this storm is all about. And now the contemplation of yoga. So I'd like to begin hopefully rather gently. So if you have a large bolster, get a hold of the large bolster. If you don't have a large bolster, a pillow will work, but just simply make sure you have a pillow or pillows that approximate the length of the bolster. So I want you to support your entire torso and your head. So not bolstering where we back bend and the upper body is dangling off. So this is just supportive so we can rest into the lower back as well as compress it a bit. Oh, I just kept the pillow there. I'll just use it with the pillow. So I'm going to have a secondary pillow. I haven't tried this with this pillow, but we'll see how it works. So very simply, we'll just sit in front of the pillow, having the pillow go long ways, vertically up the spine. And whether you have the pillow or the bolster, just really tuck it in. So when we slide onto it, we don't have a gap there. We really want from the sacrum up the lumbar to be supported. It's always good to keep the feet on the floor. Yeah, so this works fine. This is a little soft here. I may put something secondary if I was using just a pillow. So just so you feel some compression up into the lumbar area with the buttocks on the floor. And then, yeah, same thing. I might support my head with my secondary pillow here. And then when you've got the upper body nice and stable, then just relax the legs out. You can open them a little bit, past the hips a bit, just to relax the pelvic area. And don't worry if there's not a lot of intensity. We're not so interested in that right yet. But if it's too much intensity, it might be nice to make an adjustment. We want to prioritize staying in the pose longer than the level of, especially of initial intensity, because it's going to change over time. And just allow your awareness to be open and spacious and relaxed. So nothing else to do, but feel this very relaxed and restful place, certainly of the physical body, but also the awareness itself. So probably for most of the day, the awareness has been being drawn very specifically into objective experiences. So now we get to step back from that and allow the awareness to be open and spacious and relaxed. And any effort that you may have been experiencing today, yesterday, all week, right now, let's take the inhale breath and just inhale and really feel that quality of effort. And on the exhale, no effort. Just let go of that effort. So begin this lovely wave-like flow. The inhale breath, any effort, and this can be specific or this can be just very vague quality of effort. On the exhalation, no effort. Very gently, without any sense of intention or specificity, but just a felt sense of inhaling into a sense of effort, exhaling, releasing that effort. And then continuing with this felt sense of your body. And what's interesting about this is sometimes before we really draw the focus inward, there's still a sense that we're just at the surface of the body, maybe tingling, maybe contraction. And then we're also allowing ourselves to be drawn into the depths of the body, right, to the cellular level. So let's now take the inhale breath and inhale that I am solid, and just feel that, feel your sense of solidity. And on the exhale breath, I am empty, and also feel the tremendous spaciousness in this apparent body that we reside in. In breath, I am solid. Out breath, I am empty. Now we'll take the in breath and inhale, I am everything. Exhale, I am nothing. And just allow yourself to really relax with this one. Don't allow the mind or try to conceptualize this or objectify this. Just as a um, sort of just as a pulsation, just as a larger cosmic vibration. So inhale, I am everything. Exhale, I am nothing. Relax the muscles of your face. If the teeth are pressing together, let the jaw relax. And see if you can sink a little deeper into your throat and let your throat relax. Very intuitively, bring your awareness under the rim of the rib cage to your respiratory diaphragm. So the movement and the ongoing exploration is on the inhale. We're allowing the diaphragm to drop down a little bit more. And on the exhale, we're allowing that diaphragm to push up a little bit more. Nothing to force, but just bring your awareness here. And the reason I bring our attention to the respiratory diaphragm after the relaxation of the throat is especially if you find yourself speaking a lot from the throat area with no connection to the respiratory diaphragm. This is a very primary and important connection. So we want the breath involved and we want the diaphragm involved when we speak. for many, many reasons, but one of the reasons is if we're simply speaking from the throat, we're not allowing the full energy of our expression to be expressed. So when we slow down just a bit and we feel the movement of the respiratory diaphragm and the air and the vocalization originating from there, it gives our voice more resonance, more energy, and we can speak and transmit that energy more effectively. So a lovely connection to contemplate the relaxation of the throat. And if there's a lot of speaking from the throat, and dare I say some unnecessary speaking from the throat, see if you can bring that connection down and feel when you inhale, that respiratory diaphragm wants to, and we can encourage it to drop down a bit. When we exhale, it wants to, and we can encourage it to push up a little bit more. And this really is the essence. The essence of yoga is to explore your body and your breath. So we're not exploring one without the other. We're exploring how they reflect one another. And this is really, really important, that we feel this reflection. We feel this, the way that the body responds to the breath and the way that the breath responds to the body. And then what we might call secondary, but not really, then the response of how we feel and what we think. But how we feel, what we think, woven into the body and the breath at a very fundamental level. You can bend your knees now and put your feet on the floor and just have a little movement here. So it's nice, nice to take your time, depending on how your myofascia has responded to this. You may want to really take your time, sway the knees back and forth. This is a position too where I like to elevate the hips up, the pelvis off the floor, and you just kind of feel how the muscles are feeling at the bottom of the pelvic cavity here. So it's nice to just feel if they feel toned or a little unstable. So this is a very interesting area between the muscles of the pelvis and the ligaments of the pelvis. Not only do we want them supple, but we also want them stable. We have instability there, we're going to have instability in the hips and hip issues, and then knee issues, and who knows what else. So take your time, and then when you feel good, ready to come off, you can just roll off of this, and nice to curl up into a nice little safe ball. And we'll take a little time to rest here. And one of the things that we really start to make some space to accept, and this is not always as easy or simplistic as it sounds, but we start to explore that any time a symptom is asserting itself is because the symptom needs attention. So when I say symptom, I'm using a very broad brush here. It can be anything from a little hesitation in the breath, a little sort of congestion in the breath, a very mild ache in the knee or the shoulder, an ongoing anxiety in the solar plexus that we can't quite feel, sleep being interrupted. You get the idea. So anytime a symptom asserts itself, whether it's mild and almost imperceptible, or it's on the verge of something major, the symptom is appearing, is asserting itself because it wants some attention. So what's very interesting about this is I'm using the word attention in relation to awareness. So I invited us to open our practice by just allowing to let our awareness be open and spacious and relaxed. So this is awareness. We are aware that we're aware. This is awareness that has nothing arising, no symptoms, no identity, no concerns. This is just our awareness. We're aware. And then we direct that. So the beautiful thing about what I'm saying is this awareness, we also come to recognize it as intelligence. This is the intelligence of life. Life, intelligence, awareness, consciousness, all the same thing. So it's beautiful in the wisdom of this awareness that we are. A symptom will arise because it wants our attention. It wants us to focus from that open, spacious, intelligent awareness. It wants us to bring our focus into a place of attention, so then we can listen to what the symptom is trying to tell us, so we can take appropriate action. It's very beautiful. So come on up. And just to add to that, that often we have a tendency to ignore the symptoms when they're at a rather low-level phase or mild phase. And so then what they will do is they will increase their intelligence and capacity to get our attention. So part of the yoga of slowing down and coming into a very quiet place with the body, quieting the body, listening to the body, is to see where we may be ignoring something that's just wanting to begin the process of getting our attention. And if we can bring our attention there, this will open up for us what we call a healing process. Yes, good. Okay, so let's come into a forward bend. And what I would like to do here is, with both legs out, let's take the left leg and bring it under the right leg. Some of us know this as a shoelace pose. And then we'll bring the right leg over that left leg. So it's kind of like we're tying some laces here. The one caution is to not to sit on this left heel. So you may want to work that so you can just even the hips as much as possible. And this is perfectly fine. If you do want to bring the knees closer and torque the hips more, you just lean forward a bit. And see, as I bring my knees together, then I come back. When I sit back down, then you can see my knees come a little bit more in alignment, but I've also tightened the hips. I'm going to suggest possibly you have some support on the right side, the bolster or a couple of pillows just in case, but we're going to start coming forward. So allow yourself from this position. Well, one thing before we come forward, if this is not so accessible for you or a little extreme, I understand, just let the bottom leg come out and we'll do the half version of it. So you're getting most of the benefits. It just doesn't torque the hips as much. Yeah, and then the right leg will still be on top. And you still want something over to the right. So coming forward now, just coming forward, so the chest is coming towards that right knee and that right inner thigh. And then if your range of motion allows you to just hover here without the leg itself blocking, that's perfectly fine to stay here. Oftentimes what happens is hold on, I just want to set the time. Yeah. Is that the chest will come up against this right knee and there's no place to go, and it inhibits going deeper in. So if that's the case, you can just come off to the right a little bit. And that's why I think the support here is nice, because then you can lean with both forearms on some support, and you're just sort of bypassing this right leg and coming down and into it. So, and also you get the benefit of a bit of a twist. This is just a really lovely way to open the hips. And again, not too deep, no sense of effort, being at an appropriate depth so it feels just right for your body. And just right is sometimes very fine-tuning, because it is wanting to listen. We're wanting to listen and scan the body and explore the body to see where these symptoms may be beginning, or maybe they've already begun to assert themselves. So again, when any symptom asserts itself, it's just wanting us to give it attention. And then we allow the intelligence and wisdom of our infinite awareness to then focus in and begin this process of exploration. But don't get the idea that this is necessary. I'm not giving you a formula to follow. This is why we open with the invitation to allow awareness to just be open and relaxed. So oftentimes we need the time, we want the time, we deserve the time to just be in this relaxed, open, spacious awareness. This is a primary connection, if you will. It's not really a connection because it's already who we are. So again, a symptom will call us, but we don't have to follow that calling. We're not here to diagnose. We're here to feel a very organic flow between just our open, infinite self, our consciousness at just a pure, infinite place, and then how we investigate what we investigate. But it's not a prescription. It's not even necessary. It'll just happen naturally if we allow it to. So if you have twisted off to the right a bit, like I suggested, we're going to come on up. So you want to bring your spine back to a nice straight spine. And then very slowly, let's roll up from here And just really take a moment to feel the energy shifting from the contraction to a bit of release and openness. And we're going to keep coming forward. So what I'm going to suggest here, so I'm hoping that you have the right leg on top. You can release that right leg. And then the left leg was bent under. You can keep that bent. If you need to straighten it out, please do. We're just going to keep this left leg bent in front. I'm going to take the right leg and just relax it back. It doesn't have to straighten. You can straighten it if you want, but try not to press the right hip down. Just let it relax and open. And what we're going to do with this left leg, and you can see mine pulled in a little bit, which is a function of the knee tightening. So if you can keep it at a 90 degree, but that'll put more pressure on the knee. It's nice sometimes to pull it in. This will release some of the tension on the knee. So a couple of things here. If this pose is particularly awkward for you, you can put a pillow under this right hip. Yeah, that's one thing you can do. We're going to fold over the leg onto the floor. You could bring the pillow or your bolster to support you if you're not coming all the way to the floor. So always support yourself as much as you need to. If you are coming all the way to the floor, it's probably not best just to put the forehead to the floor, especially if it presses your nose in. So I like to use a little blanket and put the forehead on the blanket so we can keep the neck straight and relaxed. And then it keeps my nose off the floor. There we go. Right, so either support under the left hip or under the chest or none at all, and just relax over the leg here. So we're using the torso weight to press onto this right leg, and then be intuitive how you angle this, this left leg. Oh yeah, so if you bring it to 90 or even above 90, it changes the intention of it. So you can experiment with that. Then if we wanted to explore this relationship between impersonal awareness, what we might call cosmic awareness, the awareness of our reality, and personal attention, how we direct attention, is that the fascial web, this interconnected woven web that holds your body together, the fascia itself at almost every level is an interface between the physical, the physicality, and your energy or your essence. So we have a practical way to actually experience this. And this is why we relax the muscle, and this is why we allow these long, slow, compressive poses to press into this fascial network. Because we're seeing that, we're understanding that the fascia itself is this interface. It's very physical, yes, and we can see it and experience it, but it also has a vibratory, a pulsating, a liquid crystal quality that then can reverberate, vibrate into and be our energy and our essence. So that interface then also is the interface of awareness. Again, I was saying the intelligence of the awareness, then funneling into the specificity of a symptom, specificity of the physicality, attention. We live in this wondrous miracle. It's amazing, really. And the beauty of it is when we really start to honor this intelligence of the body, your body is perfect, even with these symptoms, because the symptoms are part of an intelligent process to keep you healthy and allow you to heal. So we don't want to interpret that the symptoms, the issues that I have, mean I'm not perfect. No, no, no. You are a manifestation of this life force intelligence. And it has this built-in feedback system to keep you healthy and allow you to study and explore and learn about the process of how your body gives you feedback. So your body is absolutely perfect. Your mind is perfect. Your heart is perfect. So we take the feedback not as a problem. We take the feedback as the intelligence itself, as evidence of this intelligence. So let's very slowly begin to come on up. And what's always nice to do here is to just press your palms on the floor in front of you and gently straighten your elbows and just take a little compression into the low back here. And then when you're ready, you can sit up and we'll bring this back leg around front and just open it up. So just let both knees relax after bending them. And we're just going to bend them a little bit more. So if you, are having knee injury or knee issues, or you're not sure, these are synovial joints, these knee capsules, and the joint play is just an ongoing thing. But one of the things I can say about the knees is if we completely avoid stressing them, compressing them, they will not improve. So when I first started this yoga many, many years ago, I was really in a process of rehabilitating my knees, and they just continue to serve me well and be very supple and open. So you must go carefully, but I'm suggesting that sometimes there's fear involved, and if you're not sure, always err on the side of caution. So what I'm going to suggest before we do the other side is to bend the knees back. So the base position for this is to either sit on the heels, so not quite so deep, or if you're able to sit between the heels, that's where we're ultimately headed. So this is going to put the maximum compression on the knees. So if you're not sure, or they feel a little unsafe or overly tight, one of the things you can do is you can take your time. You can release, come in, release, come in, and it may take, many, many minutes to feel like you could even settle here. With that being said, if this is not accessible to you, you can sit up on as many supports as you need to. So now this opens the knees up. For me, there's almost no compression now, but this would be a safe way to do this. So you want to find just that point of compression where it's safe and it's therapeutic and you're not afraid of being injured. Even if you're afraid of being injured, the body will go into protection mode and it will really cancel out the benefits in some way. We don't want to force. It's a different kind of yoga. So find a place where you can bend the knees back. It doesn't matter how high you come up. And I'd just like to spend a little bit of time here just to really, just to be with the knees without backward bend or any kind of forward bending, but just for the knees. And obviously you may be feeling something in the ankles as well. That's fine too. And this is another place where the listening is so incredibly important, especially if we are dealing with safety or injury or borderline injury or not sure, is that we want to listen to the way that we're either settling in and it's feeling safer and the body's responding in an accepting way, or the body's saying, no, this is too deep, not good, wrong position. And then we want to come out and make an adjustment, add some height. So we're never doing it for the sake of doing it. We don't do the postures for the posture's sake. We do it to get this incredibly valuable feedback. And see if you can relax, just relax the neck, let the head just really feel light on the shoulders. If you do feel like the knees are really opening, you could even lean back a little bit and compress them a little bit more. If you feel like you're at an edge and it doesn't feel quite right, you can lean forward and release them a bit. So this is very personal, and this is where we want to be very, very patient with the entire process. That's really the key when we're working into these very complicated joints that have been receiving misaligned compression for probably our whole life. Okay, that's good. So you can either come forward out of this. Sometimes it's nice just to come all the way forward and lie on your belly and release the knees. Or you could also sit to the side and just release the knees out. So either way, let's now just release the legs out. And again, let's just take a minute to feel. So we're not bypassing the release. So we just compressed, the body's responding. There's an unwinding effect going on, and we want to feel that. And we want to evaluate on some level, was this therapeutic and was this good and healthy, or did I misjudge the position? Did I go too deep? How is my body responding? That's the key. It's really a lovely thing when we have a body practice that's not concerned with an aesthetic. From this perspective, this approach to our yoga, if ever we consider the aesthetic, it's just no longer yoga. The yoga is this very intimate relationship with the flow and the feedback of the sensations. Okay, well, if your knees are ready, let's do the other side of this forward bending that we were doing. So we'll do the same thing. This time we'll take the right leg and slip it under the left leg. And we'll bring the left leg up and over. Yeah, and same thing. This time, try not to sit on that right heel. Yep, so we want the hips relatively, and there's a little tip, that's fine. And then if you want to tighten them, you can come forward, line the knees a bit and sit back down. And on this side, you might want to have your pillow to the left here. Oh, is this right? Did I do the same side over again? I think I mixed up the side here, did I? We had the right leg on top last time. Yeah, okay. Please don't mind me. So we have the left leg on top this time, yes. And we're putting the pillow over to the left side. So again, we're going to come forward, and if the chest is far away from that leg, you're fine to just stay straight. If you want to have something over to the left here, yeah, just a little bit of a sort of twist to avoid this left leg up into the chest. Nice to come to the left a little bit. So just find your place here. Another reason that it's really never about the aesthetic or the shape or the posture itself is just skeletal variations. There are no two skeletons that are put together exactly alike. So the skeleton, the muscular system, the fascial system are all, highly unique to you. So we want to honor those variations. And if we wonder a bit, what does this even mean, that the fascia is this interface between the physical and the energetic or the essence? This is beyond what can be named. This is why yoga primarily is felt. This is why when we can relax from naming, when we can relax from any sort of story or theory, we can just simply feel it. We can experience it directly. And this allows us to cultivate a very deep, intuitive sense about the body. So again, if you are twisted over to the left or to the right, if you went to the right side, either way, let's bring the body, the upper body, back to a straight spine before we come up. And then we'll come on up nice and slowly, relaxed. Yeah. And again, just feeling that shift, all of these subtle and not so subtle energies of tightening and opening. And then the same thing here, we want to release that left leg and we'll bring it around back. And we want to, if you need to, again, if you want to open this right leg just to let that knee relax for a moment. And then we'll bring that right leg back in. So coming into the swan pose, it can be at 90, it can be closer into the groin. Again, we don't need to fully straighten this left leg out. You'll just feel it in the hip there. And if you need something under the right hip or you need to be supported, that would be fine. If you're coming down, I mean, you could put the hands, the forehead on the back of the hands, but the amount of time we're holding it, it's much better to put the forehead on something so the nose is not on the floor, and then both hands can just relax flat. So we want to just remove any peripheral distractions. In a way, we're thinking of each pose as a container of comfort in order to explore discomfort. So we're not trying to get rid of the discomfort. We're not trying to do anything with it except examine it. But we don't want to do that from a struggling effort, a difficult place. We want to do that from a place of maximum comfort. So this is why we use the bolsters as much as possible in a creative way. So we get the benefit of the compression of the posture, create this container of comfort, and then we can explore with our magnifying glass the discomfort, or as I'm also saying, the symptom. Because at some level, discomfort is a symptom. That's why it's there. So this is what we're engaged in. Often we open our practice with the yoga of contemplation. Now the contemplation of yoga, and sometimes with meditation. Now the meditation of yoga. So in the Yoga Sutras, this is a very important distinction. And we always have the choice and the opportunity to do both of these. Contemplation is when we follow a thread, when we stay with something all the way to the end or as far as we can take it. And so part of the yoga is just allowing the bubbles of distraction, discursive thinking to just keep rising to the surface and dissipating. So if we have something physical or emotional or psychological, we can follow it, we can contemplate it, we can stay with it, we can examine it. And this is a very valid function of an asana. Meditation, on the other hand, is not it's not a state at all. It's not a contemplation. Meditation is simply to be free of all states. So the meditation is a kind of relaxation, is a kind of rest where we're just in this open awareness. We're not directing the awareness. We're not examining anything. We're not trying to improve anything, be more blissful or happy or elevated or spiritual. We're simply resting without any states arising. And often, even within one asana, we go in and out. Sometimes we are called to contemplate, and sometimes we just lose all of these threads and we just allow ourselves to rest in this very simple and quiet and pure meditative state. That's not even a state, no state. let's begin to come on up. And if you'd like, you can again come to your palms and just gently straighten the elbows and have a little bit of sway here, a little compression in the lower back. And then when you're done with that, you can bring that back leg around front, straighten out both knees, and let us lie down, and we'll take a rest here. And one of the ways that we can begin to make this discernment between contemplating and meditating is knowing that we have a choice. And once we start to free up the energy of the body, that choice gets not only more apparent, but a bit easier. Because a lot of the fragmentation of the mind, the busyness of the mind, the chatter of the mind, anxiety of your mind is basically blocked energy in the body. The body is not flowing and releasing, and so it tends to gravitate to these these just conceptual puzzles, if you will, this conceptual chatter. So once the hatha yoga starts to open up the channels and the pathways of the body, then we can see if there's a thread that appears or threads, we can choose, like, no, I don't want to pursue this. I don't want to contemplate that thread, whatever it is. Sometimes they're worthless and we have no use for them. And other times they're something we want to make a note of. And other times it's like, yes, this is worthy to contemplate. This is appearing for a reason. This is concerned with a symptom, something I want to explore, or an insight. And in other times, the threads come and we're like, no, I'm just going to relax. I'm just going to allow the thread to appear and disappear until that energy slows down. The fragmentation becomes more unified, and we just relax into this meditation. So is it the body? Is it the mind? It's neither, because they're not in any way separate. So we're going to come into a backward bend again. And the knee bending we did was possibly a preparation for this backward bend, or maybe not. So I'm going to give you an option if you do not want to continue to bend the knee. But just to know that bending the knee separate from doing the backward bend, you get both of the benefits. So sometimes that's the way to start, is to start by doing them separately. And then over time, when things begin to open, we can bring them together. But if you're able to bring them together, we're going to use a bolster, or again, that pillow that you use for the first backward bend, that's going to support the whole torso. And also, if you need to or would like to, you can always bring the bolster up more for this. So you can angle your bolster as much as you need to if you want to come into sort of what maybe an early stage of this with the knees bent back. Yeah. So just be aware of that how you angle this bolster up or down is contingent upon really your knees for most people, and sometimes the lower back. But certainly the knees are a very prominent point of resistance. So what I'm suggesting here, that first backward bend, and then the knees bending, maybe good preparation for this is the full saddle supported, which is really the deepest back bend that we have. Lovely for reestablishing the curve in the lower spine. So what we would do is we would sit between the heels, bend the knees, and then put your bolstering here, either at this height, your pillows, or like I said, bring them up as much as you like or need to. And then we'll come into this lovely supported backward bend. Now you could do it without this if you would like, but there's something about this that is very compressive in my lower back and supportive, and my ankles, knees, quads, and hips. So this would be one option. Yeah. If not, if you feel like you've had enough with your knees, enough already with the knees, then we're still going to come back. But what I would suggest is to take a towel or a blanket and just drape it over the end of the bolster we're going to be pressing into the back. Yeah. Sort of over the end of it. So this little bit of height is going to intensify the backward bend, different than the first one where we didn't have that. And if you have your pillows, build it up a little bit more as well. And then what we would do is you can come into the backward bend. And this time, instead of keeping the legs straight like we did the first time, simply bring the soles of the feet together, the heels up near the groin a bit. So now what we're doing, a little bit of knees, not a lot for most of us, but also into the hips. So we get some knees and some hips, no ankle, obviously, and we'll relax here. So, and this can be adjusted. So we're just bringing a little bit more height to this backward bend, or not. If you're feeling like what you used the first time was fine, then certainly do it without the extra compression. And then if you'd like, you could bring the soles of the feet together. Yeah, and then maybe have something nearby if you have blocks or some extra pillows. If it gets too intense in these hips, you can put something under them and build them up a little bit. You don't have to do them together. You can do one or the other. So even the weight of the legs here is very, very interesting for the hip flexors here. Good. So either the knees bent back, full saddle with the bolster flat or angled up, or not the knees bent back and a little support over the end of the bolster. this breathing pattern that I was suggesting earlier, and not so much a pattern, but just a visualizing of breathing in all our effort, breathing out no effort, breathing in I am solid, breathing out I am empty, breathing in I am everything, breathing out I am nothing. So this is pulsation. This is the same pulsation that your cell and your cell membrane is always dancing with, the positive and the negative charge. This is the pulsation of your heart itself. This is the pulsation of waking and sleeping. And this is the basic pulsation of the inhale and the exhale. So it's lovely to weave imagery into this pulsation, but at its depth, it's simply pulsation, it's simply vibration. And this becomes part of our, I'm going to say, contemplation, meditation, because it has elements of both, where when we relax into the no state of meditation, we can also contemplate that at the level of vibration, we just are, I am. And then as we superimpose thoughts, we superimpose stories, we bring memory into this vibration, it starts to then solidify, objectify, reify. So this is very beautiful to just feel that, whether we're breathing or we're feeling our heart pulsate, or we're imagining that the cells themselves are in this primary pulsation. This is as close as we can get to a physical examination of what this vibration is. And obviously we know it's far beyond anything we can name or conceptualize, but it's what makes us physical is vibration. If you do have your knees bent back in this position, please don't second guess yourself if it starts to reach an intensity that doesn't feel safe. If you find yourself preoccupied with the level of intensity, it's too much. So we want to really be always giving the body the safe message that we're listening to it. So at any point, you can roll to the side, release the knee, roll to the side, release the knee, or however you can release the knees, and just come into the backward bend without that. So we don't want to ever push past where the body is telling us not to. And sometimes this is tricky. Sometimes the discomfort is a barrier that is more psychological than physical, but always best to listen if you, again, feel like there's a preoccupation and you're not sure. If you're not sure, back away. And better to back away, let it release and rest. And then if you want to go back in, it'll be a very different thing. Always keeping in mind that we're working with the body as it is right now, not the body we were working with last week or last year and what we thought it could do, because that's changing all the time. And also remembering that every thought has an echo in the body. So if you begin to struggle and you begin to feel unsafe, the thoughts are trying to justify or do anything other than accept and allow, this is going to echo. This is going to be felt. This is going to be imprinted in the body. First and foremost, we want to relax the body. We want to rest the body and apply safe, consistent compression with great patience. So if you have your knees bent back, we're going to start to release. Like I suggested earlier, one option is to roll to one side and see if that opposite knee can release, and then do the same thing rolling to the other side. So that's an option. I recommend to try not to come up and forward. Maybe I did that when I was demonstrating it, but it is better to try to come to the side to release one knee. So to kind of roll off of it and roll off of it and release the knees. If the knees are not bent back, then it's just a matter of putting the feet on the floor, making sure your muscles feel safe to come out of this. And then when they do, we're going to roll off this if you're on bolster or pillow, and we'll take a rest here. So good here to lie on your back, and so you can really let all of the chi distribute here. So joints are open, and we'll take a rest. And as we're exploring pulsation, I think it's really important to remember and explore that the discomfort, the pain, the symptom is never solid and it's never stuck. And part of this exploration, which is foundational to this approach, is that on one end of the spectrum, we have pain. On the other end of the spectrum, we have pleasure. But that's not really what we're exploring. What we're exploring is the forces, if you will, in between. We're exploring the polarity between pleasure and pain. So it's never stuck. It's always in a polarity between the two. So interestingly, when we come into a position and we're supposedly evoking the pain, the discomfort, the limitation, that's not what we're really exploring. What we're exploring is what's in between. What's in between feeling contracted and feeling open? What's in between the space between pleasure and pain? So this is a way to allow our intelligence to weave into this dynamic without a judgment. Like, I don't want the pain, I want the pleasure. I've got the pleasure, I want more pleasure. So that's not the way the system works. That's not the way the body works. The body works in coming in and out of balance, maintaining a certain rhythm, a certain frequency. So we want to take this in. We want to take this in that whatever it is, it's not solid, it's not stuck. It's on a continuum between these two energies. We don't even have to call them pleasure and pain. And how am I exploring these polarities? What's in between? And so again, this takes our willingness not to name these things. Obviously, I'm conceding language is a concession, but to energetically start to feel this. Because very often we feel like our symptom, our discomfort, our pain is stuck and solid, and then all we want to do is release it. All we want to do is get rid of it, and that can also repress it. That can add layers of protection around it. Or if we're moving only towards pleasure, this can cause a groove of addiction or a groove of habit that's never, ever fully satisfied. So we're more interested in the polarity on both ends, the polarity in between. So before we get up while you're resting, let's just come back to the breath. Just in a very open, relaxed, just breathe. Just see if you can open the lungs a little bit more, feel any edge there, feel them expand a bit. See if you can empty the lungs a little bit more when you exhale. And I'd like to suggest something that helps me very much when I'm really trying to just feel and stay with my breathing. And that is that patience is just another word for slow breathing. And slow breathing is just another word for patience. So allow these two things to just naturally start to intermingle, and feel grateful that you have this time to just consciously breathe, that you have this time to slow down your breath and really feel and reinforce a genuine sense of patience with your breath and your body and your mind and your Okay, we can see that must be pulsation, the internet coming in and out and in and out. Just a little hands-on. So what I would like to do is extend the legs out at about hip width. And what that means in yin is not straight out, feet activated, quadriceps activated. That means just allow your legs to naturally extend and let the feet splay out so the hips can relax. So hip width is unique to your hips. Relax the lower back and begin to come forward. If you need some support coming forward, that's always a good thing. But more important to let the lower back relax and just soften and dip into it. Yeah, and like I said, we're going to start out what will seem in context a little bit quicker than usual, but you'll see, and then we'll slow it down. So just relax forward. Slow breathing and patience. And patience, slow breathing. Good. So let's come on up from here. And we'll simply bring the soles of the feet together and try not to habitually draw the heels too close into the groin. Just keep the knees nice and relaxed, and we'll continue the forward bend. So any symptom, any discomfort is there to draw your attention to it. So how is it that you attend to this symptom, this discomfort, this way that the body is signaling you? So it's not so much that it's there, it's your attending to it. And as we are able to let go of a strategy, as we're able to let go of an agenda and really sit with not knowing, just simply allow ourselves to attend to it, an innate, a natural creativity can then appear. And this is what we're really after. We're after this sort of intuitive creativity that can guide us to what really is for our deepest sense of well-being and healing. Okay, so let's come on up from here. So now we'll just slow it down a bit. So we're going to open the legs back out to exactly where we were. Well, not exactly, but approximately hip width again. And again, the feet relaxed, so your natural range of motion is explored. And then relaxing the lower back and coming forward. And just coming forward to you, just start to feel a bit of resistance. So we don't want to push past or resist the resistance. We want to really just be at that edge of the resistance. And then see if we, after evaluating, we come out a bit, withdraw, we get invited a little bit deeper. It's always an art to play the edge this way. I wanted to share this, something from my yoga journal. I don't know where it came from. It's on memory. Memory is everything, a symphony of neural activity, the filter between us and reality. You believe we are doing this yoga posture, breathing, etc., in the present moment, but there is no such thing. If you want to understand the world, you have to understand how we experience it. And that kind of gives me goosebumps because that is so simple and direct to really what we are exploring in this practice. Not the yoga posture, not the breathing, not the movement of the mind, but experience itself. And this is where it becomes very sensitive, because it's tricky, because we think that means experiences, an objective experience. A thought's an objective experience. A sensation is an objective experience. The sound of my voice is an objective experience. All well and good. Ultimately, what we're experiencing, what we're exploring, is experiencing. So to know the world, to know the self, we explore the nature of experiencing, regardless of the content. And the role that memory plays in that is quite a fascinating one.
Good. So let us come on up from here. Just restack the spine, feeling a little bit of space between the vertebra. And then let's go back and bring the soles of the feet together and go back into the forward bend. Nice rounded and relaxed lower spine. And really, what's particularly beautiful about this, and I feel like this is really where the the liberation of the yogi rests. So if yoga ultimately is to provide us with a sense of freedom and liberation, we begin to see that experiencing is all that we really have. So this is what it was saying about the present moment doesn't exist. And what we can very easily verify is that the objective experience of thoughts, they're discursive, they just come and they go. They do not last long. Sometimes they repeat themselves ad nauseum, at least for myself, but they come and they go. The sensations that we experience in the body, they come and they go. The feelings that we feel, from incredible joy to despair, it comes and it goes. Our perceptions of the world come and go. We literally live in an unfolding of impermanence. But the whole time we are experiencing is the only thing we have. And the yogi just rests in that. The yogi, this is the groundedness of our being, the experiencing, and allowing ourselves the respite from being drawn into the experiences, the preoccupation with the content. And sometimes the content's very important, and we are creatively enjoying or working or exploring the content, but to free ourselves ultimately to sit with deep inner peace and equanimity that's unperturbable, we want to apprehend that all we ultimately have ever and forever is experiencing.
Good. So let's come on up from here. And if you will, I would like to, especially after all of these backward bends, I'd like to cradle the pelvis. So I've made this lovely little pad here that we're going to set the pelvis on. And if you could just elevate the legs, then you can just leave the back of the head on the floor. So you can put something under the knees or just keep the legs relatively straight. And we'll just put the back of the pelvis and take some care for this pad, because if you can really soften this area, it's very conducive to relaxing, especially like I said, after the backward bends. We just want the pelvis to relax, which obviously spirals up through the sacrum and into the lumbar spine. So we're relaxing actually the whole spine, but allowing the relaxation to originate in the pelvis, and the legs up just allow the hips to relax. So this whole area will come into relaxation. And then just the arms at your side and the back of the head on the floor comfortably if you need a little cushion under it. So then one of the deepest functions of yoga, if not the primary function of yoga, is to become genuinely comfortable with impermanence, to become comfortable with and to be able to understand and sit with the wisdom of it. And this is something that we want to continually check in with. It's an ongoing check-in and study, that we're not just holding this conceptually, but that we allow the quality of impermanence, the reality of impermanence to actually permeate our beingness. And so with the yoga is suggesting that we allow this quality of impermanence to become very real for us. And then we get to explore what's left after impermanence. What is my beingness? What is my conscious presence that never changes? Is there something that I can sit with? Is there something that I can beingness, that is not impermanent? But first, we have to be very comfortable. We have to embrace, we have to see clearly the power of impermanence. And then we get to explore that I am what does not change. And so just one little thing I would add to that is that part of the humility of this study, this yoga, is that we really never know what's around the corner. We think we do, but we don't. So we get to be humble, or we will be humbled.
And I think ultimately, when we can relax with this teaching, when we can bring a genuine sense of gratitude, it just allows us more aliveness, because it makes the quality of the present moment, the immediacy of the present moment, just more vivid. And we're not projecting as much, we're not preoccupied as much, we're not recollecting as much, but we're seeing that the aliveness is this, almost magical vividness of the present moment. I was reading, this is from verse 4 of the Ashtavakra Gita. In pain and pleasure, thou art serene. In hope and despair, thou art serene. In life and in death, thou art serene. Namaste.